All right, so let's just take a look. Let's do our around the horn here first, where I just kind of give you a little bit of a synopsis of what the morning looks like. I won't go as far as saying I like CNBC. What I will say is I like clicking on the headlines because I like to just get a flavor of what the level of hysteria or disillusionment is going to be. CNBC is good at throwing up headlines that are sensational, and they actually work on a lot of the general public. So that's the only reason that I come over here and take a look. They love to troll. They love stuff like this. Social Security cost of living adjustment will be 8.7%. These are the types of things that get people worked up, right? So that helps give me a little bit of a flavor of what people are seeing when they roll out of bed. And there's nothing good headline-wise, and hasn't been for a while, right? Like this piece of shit keeps people up at night worrying about the end of the world. That's not good for people. And if you stay up at night wondering about the end of the world, stop reading these headlines. There's not anything you can do about it right now. So don't put yourself in a bad situation, right? We all know that the economy is not good. We all know that, especially if you listened yesterday to Chris's guest, he gave you a different viewpoint than what you hear continually in my room day to day, or listening to Jesus, which is nice to get somebody else's perspective. It is, however, similar, and it is nice to see that somebody else who is accomplished and educated have a bigger picture point of view on what the Fed is up to, right? Those of you who are just stopping by to see what the heck it is that we do in here, trading the post is a format of, or a type of trading that I learned a long time ago from a market maker. My mentor was a market maker who has now passed away. And my end goal is to ultimately find quality companies at discount prices so that I can buy in the money leaps on them and trade around them over time. The only problem with that in a market like what we've had this year is there's no position to be had. So we make adjustments and we trade, and even when things are good, we trade a lot of different things. So don't get yourself stuck in the mindset of the only thing these idiots do is trade leaps. That's not what we do. It's the core of what we do when the market is going in the direction that we want, that actually winds up making the most money, is over time being in long-term positions. So what we've been looking at and playing this entire time has been, we're in a downtrend. When the market comes up to areas technically of resistance, are places where we have been looking for change in behavior, whether that means level 2, whether that means, hey, you're just at a level of interest where things can change. It doesn't mean that we click on that spot as a place to do business. However, that being said, very often in this market, we have had the opportunity to take advantage of, this is a spot where you do have probability. You can get a trade going, and then if it goes in your direction, you can add to that trade. So for example, we've been playing downside SPY, and we've been doing this entire time. Normally when things are in a positive direction and trending up, our SPY put protection is crash protection. And it's because implied volatility is low, or, we use the VIX for that. So as of right now, that's been no help. So the only thing that we've been able to do is just take a look at this and say, where do we think targets are and where do we think they're reasonable on SPY? If you go back and listen to any of the stuff that I've been saying, any of the members in the room that have been here, will tell you quite clearly, and it's not a prediction, it's just using levels I have been saying and trading for this entire time, the 350 area. Why? Well, just a really simple measurement. I've used a Fibonacci tool here dating back to the lows, which is a pandemic. This is where we bottomed out after the pandemic, and then we topped out at the end of last year, beginning of this year. And this area simply represents a 50% retracement from this low to this high. That's it. This has been my target the entire time. It was last week or maybe the week, I don't even remember. I'd have to go back and look. We were in October 370 puts and adjusted those. I had also bought November SPY 350 puts. And it was last week, somewhere up in here where maybe it was coming back on the way back down. I don't remember. It was somewhere in here. We adjusted those October 370s and we added to our November 350s. So this morning, we have some adjustments to make because the SPY is going to open below the target, which is good for us from a profit standpoint. It's not necessarily a happy thing because of where the market's at. It gives me no pleasure to make money as we're coming in and people are suffering. That's not cool. But at the same time, this is what we do. I have to take advantage of this. So I'm going to be taking a look at adjusting these SPY 350s, and my next target area would be this 318.5 area. And is it a prediction? No, it's me simply saying, if I want to pocket a good piece of this 350, this is the next area that I can look at and just throw on another quote unquote hedge. So will I look at November? Will I go out to December? At this point, I'm probably just going to stick with November. So I still have plenty of time. It's only going to be, it's a little bit more than 30 days out. So if it doesn't continue, if this is an area where we stop and check up, then, I'm going to look at like 315s maybe, or 320s. And if this is an area where we stop up up here, I'm actually okay because we've made money on puts pretty much this entire time down. We didn't make any here. We didn't make any here, but we made money here. We made money here. We made money here, and we're making money here. So pretty good, right? Pretty good for a simple hedge without it being crash protection. What else are we looking at? We're still long Apple puts. That's a winner, right? So you're going to have to address that and adjust those. So just off of right here at the beginning, if you're in the, what the hell am I in? 138s. So 138s are going to need to be adjusted. I can either just take profits, or I can consider buying some 128s. There's also a Netflix trade that we've been working with. So where this is just going to open here. Now, the interesting thing about Netflix, there's probably an opportunity here for continued downside. This midpoint, you've got an A, a B, a C. This looks like it's going to be the beginning of a D leg. Here's your midpoint. It's breaking down. Look at it on a weekly. Excuse me, guys. I'm still got some leftover COVID stuff here. So, this has, from a probability standpoint, if you wanted to go out to next week, if you wanted to go 2 weeks out and you wanted to just buy at the monies, probability wise, it's a good looking setup for a flush back down to lows. Will it happen today? I can't say. This could be the place where it bounces. So if you're a contra trader and you want to catch it for bounce, that's also an opportunity. So keep an eye on that. If you're still in the condor, you gotta take a look at shutting down your 207.5. But you should have already contemplated and adjusting that, because we had a really nice trade on this thing the other day when we adjusted those 207.5 and halves. Microsoft, if any of you guys were playing puts on Microsoft, you're going to get paid this morning. Same thing, adjust. Collect some profit, consider rolling down, and or just collect some profit and wait and see what happens, right? You could buy some, you could buy some 215s as a lotto, maybe even a little bit further than that, but you all should have some good problems to work with this morning. That being said, you get my, no, I don't. Oh, Apple, you really bum me out sometimes. Really bum me out sometimes. All right. Some of you who were holding SPY puts, do you have any questions about what the adjustments are or what you should be doing? Some of you bought some SPY and didn't have a plan for what to do when I told you that this is, in my opinion, was preordained that this area was getting tagged. Now that was not me making a prediction. It was me looking at a level, right? And I feel very comfortable in this environment because of where we were technically, that this level was going to at least get tested. So November, I don't remember what we paid for these things. Wasn't it like, and the reason I don't remember what we paid for them is because I have, it's almost all profit that's in this position. And I added to it. And honestly, I lose track of some of this pricing because ultimately it's not about managing the dollars and cents. It's about managing the collision. They should get a pump in IV. Remember, it's an area, it's a level. I don't expect things to just magically change. The deer are not going to transform into elk at 10,000 feet. The rabbits on the eastern plain of Colorado are not going to suddenly grow horns and become jackalope. Your ex is not going to pick up the phone and call you and want to get back together. Hopefully you don't want to do that anyway. I have no clue other than this is an area, and it is an area for you to adjust what you have because it's all about managing your trade. So we got about 10 seconds before we open up here. You know what we're looking at, what I'm looking for. Go adjust your SPY and or your Netflix or your Microsoft, and then you can come back and look and take care of some business, okay? If you've got questions, please get them up here. Let's see what comes rolling in right off of the bat here. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a refresh just because developers, y'all piss me off. All right, guys, just as we go along here, just tell me how you do. Let's see, these 350s. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. All right, so adjusting the 350, you want to sell those. And then we said that the next area was about 318. So if you want a 315, they're only $3. That means you're going to put $10 in your pocket at least. I don't know what your average is. Okay. So get that done. Where is, who was it? Base Jumper. Tell us how you do. Now I'm being asked to check the chat. I'm trying to multitask. I already rolled down Microsoft. It is 210, 1028 reasonable to roll down again to. Hang on a second, I'll get to that. And then Ron, should I wait for a drop at market open, then start rolling to November 18th, the 315s? So yeah, don't do it before you get an, I mean, obviously we're open now. So this is right now, right here, just adjust, right? Like you don't, with this big of a drop, you don't need to be panicked, right? Just simply calmly roll to the 315s. You get to stay in and participate in the trade. You don't, and you don't need right now to have any sense of panic or urgency, right? This thing has opened gap down. Just go ahead and make the adjustment, and you're good to go. Those of you who have missed this area, what do you want me to do? right. I've been counseling you and guiding you all year. As far as the Microsoft is concerned, let's just take a look here. Microsoft goes as the SPY goes. So the target that I have on Microsoft is this 215. It's a simple Fibonacci area. That's it. That's it. And remember, they're areas. It's not predictions of where things are going to go. And it doesn't mean that this is the spot where you want to click just to do business. It is, however, an area now that you have flush. If you're looking to collect some money and put some money in your pocket, let's take a look at Microsoft and what's available to you. Let's see. Microsoft is 210, 1028. So you want to stay in that, and you're looking at 210 as reasonable. So here's my thought. First of all, you have a known area, which is this, call it 215. 210 is fine. There's no, there's nothing wrong with 210. It's a whole number. And if you want to do that, if you're going to do that, two schools of thought. Number one, hey, I've got a nice trade here. I want to collect some of this money and put some of this money in my pocket. Well, how much between what you paid for whatever strike you're in right now versus what you're going to have to pay for this do you want, and or are you really looking for more lotto? And if you are looking for more lotto and you're like, oh, I just, like if a really nasty thing happens, how much do you want to get paid? Well, consider using half of the profits if you really want to be, in my opinion, aggressive. And buy like a 195 or a 190. That's also a consideration. If you're thinking, I just want to continue to stay in this, I don't mind paying a little bit of a chunky premium. That's your chunky premium. The other consideration is to look a little bit further out. Let's say at November's. So a 210 is $7, right? Another $3 than what you paid. The other consideration is to look at a November 210 and spread it, right? You can go 10 wide. So if you buy these at 740 and you spread them 10 wide, you're going to collect 365. That's not a bad play to get basically the same pricing as the October, but to give yourself more time for it to spread out. So Oscar, hopefully that gives you a few different ways to consider and look at how you want to be down there. Parves, you rolled SPY 340s to 320s, banked 528, rolled October SPY 355s to 345s, banked 510. Fantastic. So today, as opposed to, oh, watch the amazing trader guy, is more about, at least in our room, it's more about managing these trades that you already have on. Netflix, amazingly hanging on here. Let's take a look at these 207.5s. If you're still in them, you have brass tacks running through your veins, because that has not been a comfortable position. So any bounces up on these 207.5s are going to give you an opportunity to close them out. If you're still long the 200s, they still have pretty good value. If you want to just blow out of those, or you would just want to shut this side of the condor down, you can. The other consideration is to just go ahead and write against and see if you get bounce here. What can you write against your 200s, right? I mean, you could be super aggressive and write the 212.5s. You could write the 215s and see if you're going to, you know, if you can collect a couple of bucks, right? $1, $1.50, $1.25. That's my water bottle. And if you have some profit to manage, if that happens, then you're in good shape. The other consideration with this condor, and I keep getting asked about this, if you're late, if you haven't been participating in this condor for the last 6 weeks, my first question is, where in the hell have you been? And now all of a sudden you see it working and you're like, oh, I want to get on, you know, on the fun too. Guess what? You can't sit at the lunch table with the cool kids. You're not invited. Like, don't come to me and ask me, gee, how do I participate and play in it now? Because guess what? And I've been telling you the entire time. What have I been saying the entire time? No trade lasts forever. This is no different. It has been 6 weeks of nothing but putting money in your pocket. And now you're at a spot where you're going to come to me and ask me, what do I do? How do I participate in this? Just go outside and give yourself a nice, hard, firm slap and then come back in. We'll find another stock that we can use as a condor. If you look at this right now and think this is a great spot to put a condor on, you are delusional. Why is that? Well, you've got earnings coming next week. You've got a market under severe pressure. You're better to just play direction at this point, and whether that means to look for a flush or a bounce is up to you. The other things that we look at to help us, well, not determine, but to help guide us in that type of situation is something that we refer to as HFT, or high frequency trader. This is a software and a program that we like to use to help give us a picture of where things are headed. You can find HFT, high frequency trader. I think if you just go into hft.com, but basically what are we doing? We're looking for breadth. We're looking for sentiment. We're looking for direction, you know, what the level 2 or what tape is showing us to try and give us direction. So super helpful, not all of the time, but super helpful in spots where we look for change in behavior. So as of right now, the signal weight of the HFT delineator is a negative 25.48. The SPY is trading down 2.2%. So it's almost at parity, meaning this could be a spot where SPY could bounce. It could also be that the SPY is going to close at the low of the day at the end of the day. The breadth of the big NASDAQ stocks, which would be Meta, Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, and Netflix, is a negative 29.03. That's a really big number. Normally we're playing around with numbers that get to like minus 1,400, minus 1,700, minus 2,900 is a big number. The cycle momentum, in other words, the direction, the momentum of the cycle at the current time is reflecting a negative 108, also a big number. So there's nothing really positive giving us an indication that we might want to grab something for bounce, other than we have a gap. We are way down. We're at an area where we were looking for for the S&P 500 to get to. So if you've missed this move and you're looking for any kind of a contra trade, it is possible to pick off a bounce. It's possible, right? If you come in and your mindset is already, wow, well, we're down this far, I'm just going to go ahead and play downside, because of the gap, because of the level, because of where you're at, because of all of these other things, it's telling you right now that you are potentially at an area where you could bounce. From a probability standpoint, it's still a coin toss. However, you can make a case for looking at long right here and to see if you get a bounce. And that's just from a very short-term perspective. That's just for a scalp. A lot of times what happens in these gaps is we don't get an opportunity to just trade right off of the open. We've got to wait for things to shake out if you're looking for a scalp. So now that you've adjusted your long-term positions, if you're looking for a scalp, your potential to catch a bounce exists. And now what we've got to do is just kind of keep an eye on where we're at from a big picture standpoint. So we've got a squeezometer right now that's at 41. This measures sentiment. What's coming in from from sweeps right now. So look at, you've got an Apple call buyer here looking for a bounce. Netflix, you got somebody buying some puts here, the 212.50s. These are not, that's not a massive sweep. Apple, decent activity looking for bounce. Yeah, 450K plus 131. Microsoft, more put buying. Remember, my opinion is Microsoft goes as the S&P 500 goes. That's not necessarily noteworthy. VIX, somebody looking for puts, that's a positive looking type of play. It goes out to 1028. They're looking for a 1950 strike. So what do I use VIX for? If you want to just take a quick look at VIX, for most of this, I haven't had to look at the VIX in general, but what do we look for with the VIX? Well, VIX is a gauge on the dashboard. If you're trading VIX, you are a complete cowboy, and you either have a lot of money and big brain cells, because the VIX is a very slippery instrument, and it calculates things in the way that the formula that they use to calculate VIX is the most heavily manipulated index that exists. So all the VIX is for us is a gauge on the dashboard. It's hot. So if you see, and what does this also tell you? It tells you that put premiums are juiced up. The implied volatility and the put premiums are juiced up. That keeps us out of things like crash protection puts, but it does say and signal, hey, if you have puts and you're in them, you're getting some juice here, which is why you roll further out away from at the money, because you're going to get away from some of that IV pump. The further out you get, it might not be perfect or efficient. That's the deal with rolling, though. You accept it. If somebody's looking at buying, and if you want to trade the VIX, this is the better instrument, the better vehicle to trade. So if somebody's coming in here looking for puts, I mean, this is not a bad area from a technical standpoint. You might want to wait until you get to the 200. If this stalls out here and rolls back, what's your target? Well, what are they looking for? 19.5. So 2112 is a target. The 50-day moving average on it is 2022.5. If I use some anchors, and this is interesting, that's also a potential target. If it continues to run and can get above the 200, that's also a potential target. Enough time on the VIX. I kind of want to write some more calls. I still have both lotto legs of the condor. That means I still have the 200 puts. It means I still have the 275s. Hang on, I got to go check now because I forget. Why do I not have this account already open? Come on. Fingers, don't fail me now. $275s. Hard for me to write 275s or hard for me to pick a strike to write here unless I want to be super aggressive. I might be better served to look at doing that tomorrow as opposed to today. Let's just take a closer look here. Okay, so I've got a gap. That's no help. Nothing for me there yet. If it fills the gap, let me just set an alert here. If it fills the gap, I've got something to consider. Can I play for bounce here, right here? Yeah. You've got a gap up to there. Is it going to work? Don't know. It has a shot at it. I'd really need to focus on tape and flow and come back and remember that I've got put buyers hanging out here. Let's go look at the chain. There are 220 buyers. 230 buyers are there. What about the other side of the lever here? A lot of traders lined up on the 210s. And then the 212.5s and 215s, there's a lot of activity there as well. A little bit further out, spec players playing the 200s. So 220 and 230s. So if you want to take a shot and gap fill is, yeah, I can see why they're lined up at 220, right? So we just talked about playing, yeah, there you go. My preference is to wait for areas. So if I don't participate in this up to gap fill, I'm okay with it. What I'm looking for is the gap to get filled up into this area and then consider rights against the longs that I already have. I don't need to sweat this out. To me, the easier play is going to be, if it fills, do I have an opportunity? So until that happens, I can turn my back on it. What about bounce? Let's take a look at. Okay, so if you're playing SPY for bounce here, and if you took at the monies, let's say 350s or 349s, and you want the whole enchilada type of trade, you've got till 355 and change. So somewhere in here, if you want to manage and collect some profit, do that and then roll to another strike. But technically, from you've adjusted and you've bought some other puts, you just kind of put that out of your mind. You banked the profit. Now, if you're playing a little bit of bounce here, where are you going to look to take some profits, right? Well, it's a gap. 80% of the time gaps fill. 80% of the time, once gaps have filled, they reverse direction. Let's take a look at this is a 1 minute chart, my RSI, my CCI. You're starting to get pumped. So if you took a scalp for a pop, this is a fine place to go ahead and take some money and then wait and see if you get a little bit of a pull here. And if you get a little bit of a pull, here's how we're going to measure this. And I'll actually look to participate in this if this gets what we can get. Here's your low. Here's your high. Okay, I'll be looking for this 350 and or this 347, sorry, 349.07. Sorry, dyslexia. 349.70 as a target area to try and get long again. It could be that this is just very, very shallow and this is just a little bit of a hiccup and we continue to move, at which point I can also participate in that if I choose to and see if I can catch a scalp. So let's put that in there. Okay, so we're about getting close to a half an hour in. I don't mind playing some calls here to see if we get gap fill. You're through the first 15 minutes. You're through a lot of that algo buying. And if I'm looking at the 352s now are 325. I'm just going to grab some of those. Okay, I got filled there at 325. I'm 340 bid right now. So from a scalp perspective, you know, is it late? Of course it is. But from a scalp perspective, I'm not looking to make $1 million on scalps. I'm looking to try and trade probability. See that 3 times fast. Sounds like I've already been hitting the sauce. Let's move this to here. And let's try and get a little bit of a read. Let's flip. My bad. Bear with me. All right, so I'm at a target right now. If I measure from a fib standpoint, this high, I know I've got a gap that can fill, ironically or not ironically, also at a fib level. I now am at 375 on the bid. I have plenty of profit here. What can I do to adjust or look at finding an area to use as a guidepost as to how? Okay, so here at 351.16 is as far as I'll let any profit go, which probably puts me back to close to break even. We'll see. So now they went from 376 bid, not right back down here to 348. So if I'm scalping, I can consider taking that off. If I'm looking for gap fill, any little move down, this little area right here where I've just placed an anchor is an area of opportunity to either re-enter or add. The other thing I can do is adjust this anchor to here. And this, if I want a nice re-entry, also becomes a spot. Okay, so 334. I won't go, I won't take this for anything worse than break even. If I break even on this, I'm okay with it. What I was looking for was a scalp to try and see if I could get gap fill. You might call that you know, bad trading or sloppy. It's my first entry on a scalp for the day. And I'm using some profits from the bigger picture puts. So I have some profit to play with here. I'm not as itchy to pull the trigger. So I don't mind staying in these, and I'll just go ahead and set a stop. There we go. I'm out break even right now. So I've got to wait it out and see if this is going to go or not. And if it does, I'm good with it. I can jump back in. Let's take a look at the board and see if I've got any opportunity. Nothing yet. I know I've got earnings coming. This is just scalp. Let's see what else we got going on here. All right, SPX. Nice trade, brown man. SPY called it out. Nice job, Parvez, like it. All right, how are you guys doing? I'm going to look to re-enter if I can and see if we get a bounce. The other thing that could be going on here that you'll need to keep an eye on, this is why we like to keep an eye on this stuff over here, is to try and get some sentiment. When was the last time this was updated? So we still don't have an update on this yet. Going to be a little bit before we get an update on that. Yeah, this is the stupidest thing I've ever. It's clear that inflation is a trap. It's like did you guys forget? Like they can't be old enough that they don't remember what happened. All right, so now what do I want to do? I want to set an alert here to see if I'm going to get another shot at re-entry, or is it an opportunity for me to flip and look for puts again? It's very possible. And if that were the case, and I believe, or if you're a trader just looking for, remember, looking for levels, we're not calling or making a prediction here. We're saying this helps give you some guides, some guideline. If that was the top, and my anchor off of the low should be here. And that lines up with the 0.5 retrace. So the question is, can I get that? And if I do get to this level, am I going to be able to jump back in? Or is this now the spot where I can get long again? Just thinking from a standpoint of gap fill and how much of a pork chop this little area is, that would represent a very healthy scalp. Is it, will it play out that way? I don't know. But that's what we were, when I entered the trade, that's what I was looking for. I take it off break even. I'm okay with that. Gives me another opportunity to regroup and see if I can catch it again. My longer term or my bigger time frame trades were big fat winners today. I've managed those, which now gives me the opportunity to play for some scalp plays. So I'm going to take it long again here and see what happens. I'm back in again at 325. And we'll see if this time we get that move. And if not, if we fail or fade here again, I'm just going to go ahead and take profits, because I think it's going to have a difficult time trying to fill this gap if we can't get through this again. So if I get taken out at 325 again, that's the way it goes. Okay, I got taken out again. This would be my ideal spot to try and pick off entry, but in here I don't mind playing around with it as long as I can keep myself break even. I don't mind paying commissions, looking for a spot to see if I can take a bite of this. If I can, that's great. If I can't, it's okay. My activity is not wasted. So now what I want to do is I don't want to play this unless I get back down to here, or unless I break through this level. If I break through this level now, instead of being in the 352s, I'll look at 353s. And those are $3. But I don't want to touch them now until this area can break. And if it can, fine, I'll jump in and I'll see if I can catch this. Everybody see the adjustments that I just made there? Any questions? You guys are watching banks, Google bears, Amazon bears. Like, it's not as crazy as the board looked yesterday. How are you guys doing on Apple? Y'all owe me some damn tequila. I mean, if you had appropriate size on the Apple, even small account holders, you guys should have banked $2,500, $3,000 on that thing today. How'd y'all do? Did anybody have Apple puts? Lucy, you had Apple puts, didn't you? All right, Lucy, front of the classroom for you. SK, nice job. Feel free to add the freaking milkshake to your burger today. You were short calls, Brock. That's nice. Yeah, get some extra guac. So what Smith is talking about, this is what I was talking about in the webinar, is that unfortunately, sometimes when you have a smaller account, it limits what you can do, right? So if you didn't want to take that or stay in it overnight because you were in cash count, those are the reasons why you want to stick with or get into the mode of, hey, I've got to start building here, so that when I see these types of opportunities like we just had on this Apple, that you don't have to type, I couldn't follow, right? And Smith, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying that's the situation you find yourself in. And ideally, what I'd like for you to be able to do is ignore when you have days like this and just say, my mindset and what I'm doing is building so that I'm going to be able to participate in that kind of a move once I get to where I would like to get to. If you allow yourself to be distracted by that and say, damn it, I should have been in that, you're missing the point, right? It's okay to be where you're at as long as your mindset and you realize that you're building so that you can get to the point to where you're going to be able to follow those. Yep, perfect. SK, that's a great trade. It's a great trade. Somebody pinging me over here. Yes, I am. Real quiet open, spooky. Like the crash team lurking. What do you mean lurking? See, this is also part of some of the things that we focus on. We don't really focus on it. What we look for is when other traders in other rooms have other things to say about what they're looking at big picture. Why is it? It's not necessarily important. It's only a standpoint of how scared are people? How far off are people? Are traders not seeing what's exactly, Lucy? Are traders not seeing what's right there in front of them, slapping them in the face? There's a lot of cat. What's going on with cat? Bigger picture. Cat's just kind of gross. You're right at the 8 EMA and the 21. If you want to try and catch it for pop, it's already had pop. So an alternate trade might be to look at it and say, I want to write against it. But this is the kind of thing where you just look at it And you're like, well, why are they hitting it here? It's probably, I don't know this, but it's probably a roll. This is a bigger term or a bigger picture fib. And it's set up to look for what was downside. It didn't quite get the extension. So you've got to adjust this fib. That was your high. That's your low. Let's reverse this and see where it's at right now. Okay, so you're in an area that's giving you an opportunity for a trade. Will it continue to push? Is this the level they're playing for? $195s. All right, so we're getting close to an hour in. Doesn't mean anything. Where's my, what happened to, this is the frustrating thing about TradingView. I did not delete. And I know, all right. I'm going to jump back in this again. So these October calls, this is going to be attempt 3. I was looking to get in these at 292. So this is a sloppy entry. I don't recommend you follow me on this. I'm going to try again here. We're going to see if we get some gap fill. So I'm in there at 346. So that means any rollback from here, I've got to look at cutting or give myself cushion to this little spot right here at this 352.52. This is sloppy scalping I've got going here this morning. This is not very crisp. But let's see. Let's see if we get some movement here. Now I'm relying on this to make a sound, to give me an alert. I've already lost my anchors on this, which is in the fib that I did on it. I'm just going to sit here and watch this for a second, because if it triggers, then I just want to take it off and look again. I'm okay taking break evens or very small losses. This is kind of how I do it. So if you look at like a, what's your win-loss ratio? It's not good. However, it's because I take really, really small losses and adjust and look for the right spots. Okay. At least I know you're working. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to look and see, can I catch it again? Do I want to keep participating in this? Potential for entry here again. And or this area. What do I have coming in? I also want to see if I can find some level 2. It's really difficult to do on SPY. So I've got to look broadly at what's happening. So UVXY puts, I got a bunch of calls coming in here. There's stuff looking for bounce. So I'm going to try again on SPY. So I'm in now at 315. They're moving so fast. It's ridiculous. So I'm just going to set my stop this time at 310 and try and give myself just a little bit of wiggle room, because I really don't know if this is just going to, if we found this short time frame, the extension gets me to 355, and then the 1.618 gets to gap fill. If you played bounce and you're participating in this right now, you might want to consider rolling and taking some of that profit just in case this thing can, just does a little rollback here on you. Let's take a look at RSI and CCI on SPY right now. So you're kind of playing in the upper echelons. The HFT numbers have improved quite a bit. That was good. It was a good spot to play bounce, obviously, off of the open. I was adjusting other things and flapping my gums. I did not participate where I should have participated. All right, so now my calls are working. And instead of sitting here looking at break even, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my stop, calling it a stop win. I'm going to move that now up to 340, just so that I don't have to sit here and look at break evens. If I get taken out, I get taken out. I'm okay with that. Getting close. All right, so far a decent job of where that little stop is. That they obviously see me. If they want to take me out, they can take me out. They can take any of us out if you're in there at 340, but it's okay. It's a way of building in green. I don't like to take stop losses. Stop wins, I'm okay with. Stop losses, that's not my thing. Somebody give it a push. So from a scalp standpoint, if I can get this, I'm going to be super happy. All right, guys, how's everybody doing? It is not 2023 yet. I don't know if you want 2023 just yet. So SK, part of your adjustment is you've already, that's fine. Don't sit here and grind your profits like you're making sausage. You don't need to do that. It's okay when you've had a day like this and you've banked a lot of profit on, slightly longer. And when I say longer term trade, you guys know what I mean. I mean 2 weeks out, 30 days out, or hey, you were sitting there in those SPY bigger picture puts looking for this area. You've had a really good day. If you had Apple, you had a really good day. And within the first hour, you've probably banked more than you could ever make at your regular job. And if you are doing this full time and you were sized appropriately, you probably just banked 2 or 3 months worth of profits in a single morning in the first hour. There's no place else you can do that. There you go. You made a week's worth of wages in a day. It doesn't happen like that without putting in the work, though, right? Lucy calling Tesla bulls. Let's take a look. All right, so now I'm in the driver's seat on these calls. So we find after being an idiot and missing the bulk of it, we're finally in the driver's seat. So now if I want, what can I do? I can rearrange my stop win. I don't want to make it too close because I don't want to get blown out on a little dip, but I want to make it so that I'm at least walking away with a decent win. So I'm going to move my stop to like 350, 355. So my stop is now adjusted to 355. Let's take a look. This is ideally is my target area. This is where I'd like to get to. Doesn't matter what I like. The market doesn't care. From a scalp standpoint, if you were in there, if you were paying attention, if you missed the drop down, but you were just looking for pop, you're doing very well. And if you do have the cushion from an anchor standpoint, you're here. From a fib standpoint, short term off of this move here to here, you're now in you're looking for extension into the gap. And if you get it, you have potential. Okay, so I just got taken out at 355. I'm okay with that. And if I want to adjust this and remeasure, I can. So now I'd be looking for, if I want to re-enter kind of this 352.80 area. And I can continue to repeat this process until you either get gap fill, which is where I'd be looking for reversal, or somewhere in here. So do you see how, as we've gone along here, this kind of just measuring and looking for these spots, because SPY tape is level 2 SPY is almost impossible to read. I'm trying to get bigger picture and balance it out. So if I adjust that fib, look at that was another spot for re-entry. They took me out though. I'm okay with that. I just, now I've also got a decent scalp under my belt. I'm almost an hour in. Not all of the time. This could be a very different day. A lot of times after the first hour, you start to see volume disappear and trading activity dry up, which can often be spots to look for fade. So if you're of the belief and if you're looking for fade, your target is right back down to the big picture fib. So if you want to play that, you can. What are the gates along the way? 351.84. The anchor is down here at 351.28. And then of course you've got that 350 area. So that's your adjustment if you want to flip on it. 80% of the time gaps fill. That means 20% of the time they're not gonna fill. But you just got a good example of how I managed a little scalp there, and it was just, for the record, it was sloppy. It wasn't where I should have done it. I still wanted to participate. It still looked like there was some more. And why did I feel comfortable doing it? Because you have a gap, and because that gap rule presents itself as an opportunity, and because it's trading, and because it's managing your risk, you look for opportunities to do that. But big picture wise, meaning where is the price at? You don't sit there and just declare that the gap is going to fill and sit there all day. If you're in a scalp, you manage your scalp, right? So I'm walking away from this entire morning very green, very happy. Not the best scalp on the SPY. It could have been a lot better for sure. And I could have banked a lot more money on just the scalp. However, I didn't have to. I wasn't in a situation where that was a priority because I had other trades that I managed. Okay, so now if we get here, I'd like to know, and then I can reevaluate. Otherwise, can I put an alert here crossing up? And then I would look to get involved again there. Do I want to be involved anywhere in the middle? I just lose probability here unless I can find some information coming in over here or elsewhere. Look at that. Okay, so squeezometer updated to 38. When the squeezometer is a measure of sentiment, gets down into the lower 30s, I like to look for longs. And when it gets into the high or the low 70s, I like to look for shorts. So we're getting to a spot where you could start again to look for bounce. However, given big picture is not pretty, right? Big picture, technically, you don't have any good news and or catalyst out there helping. So what do I have? I have a market that's in a downtrend, that has been in a downtrend the entire year. And if it does bounce, is there profit to be made in bounce big picture? For sure, right? Like you can look at the 360, which is the 8, right? Like if you caught that from here to there, nice trade. However, technicals are telling you that that's an area of opportunity to look for short. Same thing with the 21. Bigger picture, you have a fib, then you have an anchor off of the lows. You've got the 50-day moving average. So what do I see? I see a lot from a technical perspective only. I see a lot of resistance to the upside. To me, the trade has been the easier one to look at areas of resistance as opportunities for downside trades with time. Does that mean you have an opportunity here? Probably not. You need some level of resistance to look at as an area of opportunity for change in behavior. You probably still have nice opportunity for bounce here, bigger picture, but that's not how I'm positioned. I'm positioned to continue for flush. Would I prefer and like to see this consolidate and or use this as an area where it's going to check up? Yeah, I would. Would I be surprised to see this area get tested? I would not. I would not be surprised. So I just trade accordingly. All right, guys, any questions, comments, concerns? I'm going to cut it here and take a little pause, and we'll come back and I'll talk to you guys in the room. I don't have any condors for next week. It's the start of earnings season. I don't like condors at the very beginning of earnings season, especially before the big dogs report. There's just too much shit show activity going on. And remember, some of the plays, like, I don't know if any of you took a look at playing this for short, but that's, if I see something have an earnings pop and somebody like Jim Cramer talk about how great PepsiCo is, and you're at a technical level of resistance and the catalyst is out of the way, they represent good opportunities for contra trades. Same would have been true if it dumped. You could have looked for a potential pop. But if you caught Pepsi yesterday and you bought some puts, look at this, right down to the 21 from the 200 and close to the 50. Then you opened up and you came back and tested the 21. That's a nice trade. Let's look at that Boeing, right? We had a similar setup where we had call buyers and we were looking to play contra of what they did. Good trade, not great, good trade. We've managed this really, really well. Nothing is ever perfect, but we've done incredibly well with this trade. Did any of you play for a retrace down to this 208 area like we talked about? Did any of you roll down? Wilson, you were in it. Did you roll down to that spot? Wilson, are you in here this morning? Oh, you changed it to the Yankee logo. Lame. Hey, Padre fan, where are you at? Padre fan, you got to be feeling pretty good. Dodger fan, you're gripping again. Zach, was that, I can't remember, was that you out at the first Braves Phillies game? That was a thriller. The cheat stros, can't root for him, SK. Can't do it. Oh yeah, Lone Star. Well, I'm sorry you live in Houston. Houston. It's the only city that I know of where you can put a school next to a strip club. Oh, Zach, don't even get me started. This place is a shit show. I like parts of Texas. But Houston doesn't have building codes, right? It's got crazy building codes. Yeah, zero zoning. Literally, Lucy, they can build a strip club next to a school. I don't know if that actually exists out there, but they're zoned for it. Because there's no zoning. Texans are good people. They're fun, that's for sure. All right, guys. I'm going to take a break. Hope you enjoyed and profited from this. You should have. If you didn't, let me know so we can fix your shit. All right, y'all. Have a great morning. Catch up with you soon. Peace.